Can you do it now?
Okay. All right.
Have to say okay.
Kenny,
Oh,
you're on.
all right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for providing me a little time to talk a little bit about our dual credit, dual enrollment program. It's a pretty significant part, actually, of the college's offerings. Um, I'm not going to go too far into our strategic priorities, which is kind of that's how we define our mission. But I will say that we have three strategic priorities, and one of them is around providing equitable access to higher education, and dual enrollment really fits that part of our mission super well. So first, I'll just describe a little bit about how dual enrollment works at the college because we have several programs that actually can get pretty complicated. Talk a little bit about the benefits, and then a little bit about the service really throughout kind of the gorge that we're providing for our high school students. So, um, dual credit or dual enrollment is really it's simply defined as current high school students who are enrolled in classes that provide college level credit. And we've got several programs. The two primary ones are College Now, and the other one is called Expanded Options. And the difference, the essential difference anyway, between those two have a relationship with the high school faculty, make sure that the curriculum is aligned, that the rigor of the class is consistent with what they would find at the college. And so that makes it really easy for high school students to access just because those classes are right there, offered by teachers they're comfortable with and taking classes from anyway. The other option is called expanded options, and that's when high school students come to the college to take classes with us, with our faculty. And the high schools typically, the models differ a little bit, but the high schools offer varying level of tuition support for those students. I'm happy to answer any questions about sort of those two primary programs. By far and away, College Now is the dual enrollment program that we tend to offer in the Gorge, more so than expanded options. In fact, on the sheet that's included in your board packet, we gave you a little bit of the data there. So I won't go too far into that, but we had 65 College Now classes with over 26 instructors, so a pretty significant program compared to 48 students who are participating in expanded options. But still, I mean, 48 students being able to take college level classes at the college for reduced tuition is in my mind, a good way to provide access.
Kenny, one of the issues goes to the word under college now of qualified high school teachers, because it's my understanding you have to have a workaround because to offer, say, an English credit, the high school teacher has to have a master's degree in educate or in English as opposed to just a general master's degree in education. Can you speak to that issue?
Yeah, so actually, with College Now, we can sponsor faculty who don't meet our requirements to teach at the college, and they do typically at the college. They would need a master's. That even that requirement is not that black and white because we hire folks out of industry that maybe don't have a master's, so it kind of depends on which field we're talking about. But the workaround for that, Doug, is that our if there's an English faculty that has a master's in education, our writing faculty can sponsor them, and ultimately I believe, would be qualified to teach the class so long as they have that mentoring relationship.
Okay. I knew there was a workaround, and I knew that
Yeah,
that
that's it.
qualification piece is has been an issue for a long time.
Yeah, and it's really interesting actually. We at the state level of the community colleges, we're we are also competing for some of these college now credits with some of the universities, and they actually have a lower requirement than we do in terms of qualifications for faculty. So there's been a little tension actually between what rules should be operative, and so we've had some conversation with the Higher Education Coordinating Commission about what we think is appropriate. But overall, we want to make sure faculty are discipline experts, but also good teachers. And so combining those and working together, I think we provide that in our dual enrolled programs. So just by way of orienting you a little bit to like the level of dual enrollment that we provide throughout the year, like the boundaries of the Columbia Gorge GSD. There are 10 credits that are typically earned by the time of high school graduation for your average student. So it varies by high school, but typically they're earning up to 10 credits of high school college credit. And of course, that comes with a pretty significant savings. So we're able to say that they, on average, again, save about $2,000, or they did anyway in 2024-25, $2,000 per student. So combined total of about $1.7 million in terms of tuition for all of those credits kind of rolled together. So, again, that goes back to equitable access, making sure that education is affordable, it's high quality, and that anyone that wants to can access it. And we take that mission to heart across the board, but this is one program where we're able to do that for our high school students. You can see as well in your board packet the number of FTE that we actually produce through college now. And through expanded options. And we've declined for the past few years. We've made some program changes. Schools have made some funding changes. So I think that's affected our FTE to some extent. But in 2023, we had close to 190 FTE. And the college as a whole, we're typically serving around 850 to 950 FTE. So that's a pretty significant portion of our total FTE. And the other thing that maybe is worth pointing out for you all is just how diverse some of those students are. I came from Washington State, and there we have a very robust dual enrollment program called Running Start. And there, the issue was that the folks that would tend to access that program tended to be more of your I'll say privileged students, or students coming from higher socioeconomic statuses, and had parents who were could easily direct students and kind of encourage students to get some of those early college credits out of the way while they were in high school. But our students tend to be pretty diverse. There's one chart that shows kind of how the demographics in our region compared to the state of Oregon. And you'll notice that we've got a fair number of actually students who are at some point on an IEP. We overall, our participation for students that are receiving reduced lunch or free lunch even, those we're not quite 20% there, but overall, my bottom line is you can look at the data yourself, is that we're actually reaching a pretty diverse student body. And we also are working pretty closely with the Hood River Options and in North Wasco County with Innovations Academy to make sure those alternative high schools are also taking advantage of our dual enrollment programs. So overall, just wanted to make sure you're all aware of kind of the work that we're doing with our local high schools. And I will say that we've had a lot of changes to the program and a lot of good partners. We just recently, we're a part of what's called the Rural Guided Pathways Project, which is a group of a little over 25 community colleges from across the country, trying to figure out ways that we can really help to support student success. And we had our last institute focused just on dual enrollment. So we were able to have a couple of local principals, one of the superintendents, join us for that and really talk about some of the practices that other states and other institutions are using to make sure that these credits earned are actually leading to an actual career and an educational pathway, and they're not just sort of random classes that students get here and there, but don't actually ever lead to anything. So we still have some work to do there, but I think um, we're in a good spot to make some significant difference so that this program really does lead to something good for our students. So I'll stop talking and happy to answer any questions that I can about it. And really, again, appreciate the time allowing me to share what we're up to.
Board members, do you have any questions?
No, I think it's a great option for kids.
Yeah, very good option. Kenny, one of the other things that the community college is looking at is adding the BA for um, uh, become in education. And how would that work into the dual credit if and when, no, not if, when it is, when you start that program?
Yeah, yeah. So we're still working through the hurdles of getting a Bachelor of Applied Science degree offered for education, as you pointed out. And here's the overall, our approach is anytime the high schools are offering CTE programs, and we can't do it always, but we're trying to align those CTE pathways at the high school with our associate's degrees at the college. So they're already like they're able to get on that path and have some credits earned before they even start at the college. And the same would be true for the BAS. Like we'll look for those opportunities. We haven't done that work yet, just because we're still, until we have that degree in hand. And that one will be a little harder for us too, only because that degree will be a part of a consortium agreement with 4 other community colleges. So we have to work in tandem with them too. But I'm gonna say with some level of confidence that given the need for educate or for trained teachers, and given some similarities in those programs, it won't be too difficult to make sure that those are well aligned.
Great. Well, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Staff, do you have any, would you like anything clarified?
Nope, I think we're good, Doug.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Kenny. Appreciate you presenting the dual credit program. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your evening. Thank
Yeah,
you.
my pleasure. Thanks again.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, bye.
Okay, I'll go back because I skipped something. Comments from the audience for about non-agenda items. Is there any comments from the audience about non-agenda items?
No, we don't have any, Doug.
Okay. With that, I'm going to turn the next item over to Dana or Vanessa to talk about the audit and introduce our auditor.
You want to go for it? Yeah.
I'd like to thank you. I'd like to introduce Corey Sarah. She is our auditor, and she's going to talk about our audit tonight. I'm not going to give my message until after, if that's okay. Thank you so much, Corey, for being here tonight.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Stacy, who's in Tucson, my husband just got back from there, and his favorite ride in that area is Mount Lemon. So, and the cookie cabin at the top. Isn't that funny? It's a small world.
Beautiful up here.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Okay, so with that, let's talk about the audit. I'll just start by saying we still had some findings, but things look much, much better than they did in the last couple of fiscal years. So that's good. We had 2 findings. We've listed, the first one is a repeat. The first one is a repeat one. It's some accrual items, specifically accounts payable is one of the things, though I think I sound like a broken record talking about e-finance like this. Your accounting program will allow staff to, when they pay let's say it's August and they're making a payment that was for something that was related to June, so an accrual in June, an invoice or something, it will let them post it back against the June cash balance. Most accounting programs won't do that because that's wrong. Yours lets them. And so it's a learning process of figuring out how to handle those within the system. It is intuitively, it wants to do it wrong. So that happened again for June of 25. I do think that there is a better understanding from Vanessa and her staff's perspective on it. Unfortunately, it is a limitation of your software. And so it's kind of one of those things that is difficult to work with, and it's not unusual in an e-finance setting. And unfortunately, also, it was about $400,000 of payables that we had to fix, and there were some receivables that had been posted as well. So nothing that we couldn't figure out, because luckily it's easy to trace them back, but it's just something that before we get there, we need that done. The second one was new. Poor Vanessa, she's at some point it's going to get easier, I promise. Again, with the finance salaries for the summer payrolls mainly, but it's still not a small number, posted back into the wrong fiscal year. And so she had to do quite a bit of digging to figure out what was wrong, because we had payroll that we couldn't reconcile. To Vanessa's credit, she worked with the software vendor, figured out what was wrong, and got it fixed. Unfortunately, in doing that, it threw pretty much all of the other work that we've done out the window, and we had to start over. So that's part of the reason why it's March again, is that software error in payroll. It is something that back 4 or 5 years ago now, time blends, there was a conversation about how it had to be handled differently. And I think that through staffing changes, that just got lost. And so again, it's a limitation of your software. It was $188,000 though. So it was something that was significant and had to be dealt with, unfortunately. A few other things, there was a budget over expenditure, again, because that payroll posted wrong. That's part of what happened. We don't like to see those, but when it's something like that, there wasn't anything you as a board could have done to fix it, unfortunately. And then I think just the last thing I would touch on is you do have an option. Unfortunately, it's not something that is an easy switch, but we would just ask the board that if staff feels like it's an appropriate thing to talk about time-wise and staffing constraints-wise, a change to a better software program would do a lot in creating efficiencies and just making the department easier to run. I know accounting software is expensive, so I know it's a big ask. Creating efficiencies would save some of that money, I think, and make it easier for them to do their jobs. So those are the findings. Did anyone have any questions about that before I talk about numbers?
You don't have a report for us to look at?
Yeah, we have the draft, Doug, and so we will get the draft to you far ahead of the next meeting so that you can take a look at the specifics. And then if you feel like there are specific questions and you want us to invite Corey back, we can. Or if there are questions that you feel like Vanessa and I can field, we can do that in April. But we're in the process of just finalizing the draft with Corey today, actually.
Yeah, and we just wanted to go over findings with you as a board, because that's part of, my job to talk to you. So more just wanted to give you an opportunity to hear that from me. So if we look at numbers, the fund balance overall went down about $500,000. That is actually not bad. It's a big number, I know, but the general fund still has about 2.7 million in it at the end of the year. And given what we know about attendance and costs, the fact that you're still maintaining that healthy of a fund balance, I think is really good. And obviously you can't have a $500,000 loss for the next 5 years, but once, and especially in this economic political climate we're in, it's not a shock to see that at the end of 2025's fiscal year there was a decrease in fund balance. So you're still maintaining enough fund balance that you can continue to operate and not be super concerned. So I know as you're heading into budget, that's something we have to talk about.
How does that compare to the policy we just passed?
Oh, well, you are well within your policy. Easily within your policy. Yeah, we did specifically talk about that on Friday with Dana and Vanessa.
Okay.
Yeah. So even though there were a few bumps, things are looking much better. So
And Doug, if you will recall, about 200,000 of that 500,000 was repayment that we needed to do to two of our component districts based on former years' LSP costs that had not actually been handled as flow through.
I thought it was 400,000.
No, we were at about 176, I believe, for Hood River and about another 25, 26 for North Wasco.
Okay.
all right. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And if more come up, like Dana said, happy to answer those as well.
Okay, well, hearing none, board members, any other questions?
Well,
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Corey. Appreciate you being on the Zoom with us tonight.
Of course. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay, Dana, your report, please. Or Vanessa, were you going to add to that report, or are you going to wait until we do the financial report?
I can wait or I can go now. It's up to you.
You could arm wrestle with your boss, so you guys decide who's going to go.
Why don't you keep going with audit?
Okay.
Yeah.
I do have financials. I can share that on my screen. Sorry, I'll pass it down. I'll keep one.
Yeah, you get those and then we'll pass those.
We're going to print one for everyone.
You can share it, then the folks can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do. I can.
There's one sent to. Thank you. There we go. You're getting there.
Okay. Good evening, Chair Nelson,
There you
esteemed
go.
board members and colleagues. I'm pleased to share that we have finally completed the audit for the 2024-25 fiscal year. I stepped into this role back in 2024, midway through the year of being audited. Since then, my focus has been on stabilizing our operations and working through the historical discrepancies that were identified during this audit process that Corey just shared. They identified two material weaknesses. I think that some of this was a direct result of some turnover and some technical challenges. So finding one, they had talked about the accrual and reconciliation errors. That was about the 400,000 that Corey had mentioned. And so I believe this is a past issue that we're working on fixing, and I feel like we're in a better place this year for 25-26. And then the payroll grant balancing, the summer payroll was posted the wrong fiscal year, which, like Corey said, threw us out of balance and we had to start all over. We were at like a good place. We had talked about this with Corey, but unfortunately this threw us off. And then, as Corey mentioned, our software, eFinance, it has taken a lot of extra time and effort to get through just payroll and accounts payable and those things, even audit. We've had it for a long time, so I'm hoping that we can talk about looking at another system. And then moving forward, we're working on reconciling payroll and grants. My goal was to do it monthly, but with being short-staffed right now, it's quarterly for us currently. And we're still working on training new team members with Nancy Hall from OASBO. She's been a huge help. And then we're also looking at a short-term person to help with our AP backlog. This audit has been major, but I feel like we're in a better place as of 26, 27. I mean, even looking at last year's audit, I feel like we're better than we were before. I mean, there's big findings, but I still have confidence that we're doing better. As you referenced below, here's a snapshot of our current funding balances as of February 28th. So the account is federal banking account, payroll, local government investment pool. We still haven't received our state school fund payments, so we're still making grant claims, working with directors. They've been really great in working with Alyssa to continue with revenue. And then here are the financial, the balance sheet on the next batch of information that I'm sharing on my screen. Do you have any questions for me?
Is the state moving toward a recommended? I know they're doing a whole lot with their accounts schedule, and are they in looking at new software? Is there something that the state is moving districts to, wants districts to move to? Are we in the Wild West on that?
Unfortunately, they haven't. I don't know if they're working towards it, but I do know that most of Oregon is on, I think, ERP Pro, which used to be Infinite Visions. And I plan to reach out to them to see what the costs would be and to talk to our tech department. And also North Wasco is considering looking into that. I think it's supposed to be a savings. So I think if we can get with them and like support our district as well, it might be something we can look at. But I'll keep you posted on that. I really wish that the state would, kick back some funds for all districts to help pay for this program. But right now, I don't know that that's happening. Oh, and then also the PBAM, which I forgot to mention, they're going to be changing the chart of accounts. And from what I understand, it's like a whole new system implementation anyway. So I thought if we're going to be doing a whole new system implementation because of the PBAM, maybe we should look at something
Compatible.
that's more user-friendly. And it sounds like Nancy with OASBO has also mentioned she has worked in e-finance and Infinite Visions, and she is saying that it's a lot more user-friendly. So she's also recommending it. Anyway.
Well, more to come. Board members, any other questions for Vanessa?
Vanessa, I'm proud of how hard you work. Thank you for being so devoted to our program.
I appreciate you guys for supporting me, Stacy.
College. Our board. There's the word.
I totally agree about a new program for software because you don't want something that disarrays your direction and messes you up. I mean, that's like a culprit that's like really bad.
Yeah.
So yes, I think by all means that has to be corrected.
I'll definitely share any information at my next meeting. My plan is to meet with them and talk to them about costs, and hopefully maybe they'll give us a discount maybe here and talk to North Wasco as well. So thank you, Diane.
Well, thank you very much, Vanessa. We've come a long way in 18 months, so keep moving forward. Thank you. Dana, your report, please.
All right. Thank you, sir. Something that's not on here, I had the opportunity for the last couple of hours to hang out at the Dalles Middle School, and I was one of the judges for a future chef competition. So elementary kids that were cooking, it was fabulous. I had such a good time. Unfortunately, there were some tears because somebody had to win, and that meant some people lost. But it was very fun. Kids from Chenoweth and Dry Hollow and Colonel Wright that had submitted recipes and were selected, and they had to cook the meal and present it. And I was one of the judges. It was very fun. I know. Yeah. So a few things to highlight. I have completed all of the presentations to our component school districts. last week I was in Maupin, and I want to use this as an example to highlight the work that this team is doing. On Maupin's agenda at just the meeting that they had last week, they were adopting an AI policy, which our tech department and our STEM department had helped to develop. They were doing a math adoption, which again, our STEM and our education and innovation department had helped to walk the administrators and the teachers through that math adoption, and they're going to be part of the training of that new math curriculum. And they were talking about their summer learning grant. And I will speak to that later, but our education and innovation department is working closely with our component school districts to submit summer learning grants that are due on Friday. There was a very short turnaround. But it was lovely to see all of the places where our ESD is very much connected to the work that's going on in our schools. We have completed our second all-staff training day, and I know that I shared this with you all the last time, but I brought a copy of what the completed thing looked like. And Doug, you had a chance to see this, maybe spill some salsa on it when we were at the luncheon a couple of weeks ago. But it was a great day, and I'm really impressed with the knowledge and the experience that our staff shared. We had a couple of outside presenters, but for the most part, they were staff that work here at the ESD. And staff had the opportunity to choose which sessions they would go to connect with colleagues. We had a lovely lunch that was prepared by or ordered by our human resources department. And I'm in the process of collecting evaluations now to think about next fall. STEM and tech, I will tell you, coordinated very well together in their presentations, supporting each other, and then kind of debriefing and thinking about how they could even potentially change the names of some of the presentations to try and get more people from certain departments to want to come to presentations. I also included in the supplemental packet that Susan sent out today, I have been talking to different agencies that do strategic planning work. The one that I sent you today is from Studer. It's a company that works across the country. They have several different school districts and at least one other ESD here in the state that they have been working with just this year on strategic planning processes. They hire former superintendents to be their coaches for them. I've been really impressed with the things that I've seen. I've actually had the chance to speak to an ESD superintendent that's working with them this year. And so if there are no questions tonight, but if you think of things that you would like me to ask about a strategic planning process, this is the group right now that's kind of rising to the top for me. And so I'd be curious to know if you have questions about this process moving forward. Let me see where we're at. So Vanessa alluded to this. We're finishing up our budget from 24-25, but we're hot into building budgets for 26-27. And we've worked to ensure that directors are far more connected to budget development process. And so just a very simple example, Courtney, I'm going to pick on you. Courtney manages Title I-C, migrant education, and there are very specific requirements for receiving those funds. For example, we have to have a graduation specialist. We have to have a recruiter. There are things that we're required to do. Those are pieces that Courtney knows about, but that Vanessa and her team don't necessarily know about. Vanessa and her team are going to make sure that we're not overspent, that we're making sure that everything is posted to the correct accounts, but they don't necessarily know all the intricate parts of managing a specific grant. So having the grant managers, the directors, working closely with fiscal, I believe is another way where we're going to ensure that our budget better reflects what we're doing here at the ESD, and that we can get out of this business of having findings and have an actual clean audit moving forward. I do want to come back for a minute and give a shout out to education and innovation. The the grant cycle for the summer learning process has been less than desirable, I will say, coming out of ODE. They they actually allocated the funds back in June when they passed this biennium budget, but the grant process just came out about 2.5 weeks ago, and they're due on Friday. And it's a new process this year. It's different from the process last year, and it's different from the process the year before. And they will be awarding the grants in the middle of April. But this process was very different, and it actually ranked all of the school districts, all of the charter schools, all of the ESDs from across the state. And so we had a superintendent, one of our component districts, that reached out and said, it looks like we're going to have a better chance of getting the grant if we're working in a consortium, if we're working with other partner school districts and the ESD. Can we do something like that? And I said, absolutely. And my first thing was to walk down the hall and talk to Maury, because I'm like, how do we pull this off quickly? And we pulled a Zoom meeting together, and we had all of our component districts on the call, and Mosier Community School, because they're ranked as a program. And the way that it's going to work out, we're actually going to end up submitting 3 different grants for our region that are going to total up close to $2.5 million. And fingers crossed, it's going to position us to have a much better chance of receiving those grants. But it was a heavy lift in a very short amount of time. And so I really want to give a shout out to Maury and Teresa for helping to get that done. Because it wasn't easy. But for all of our component districts, it would be a game changer. And the award this year, districts get to keep for 3 years. So there was a huge press to make sure that we put our best foot forward. And then legislative updates, short session. If it's okay, Doug, I'm going to toss it to Paul and let him share some legislative updates. And then if there's anything else that I feel rose to the top, I'll close it out.
Okay.
Okay, short session. Sometimes we think short sessions are the ones where they just merely adjust the budgets that were passed and approved before. Well, that's not necessarily true. Short sessions usually have fewer laws, proposed laws that are introduced, but some of them are still pretty heavy as far as lifting. Some positive things, the disconnect from the federal tax certainly has helped, $340 million worth, which not as much as I'd hoped for, because we have about $900 million
To make up.
But 340 is better than just merely a drop in the pan. Some good things, no changes to the QEM, so that's still there. And although I would imagine during the long session, we're going to take a deeper view of it. The problem with the QEM is that it's never been properly funded. In fact, when it was first approved back in 2000, I termed it as an educational odyssey, because basically that's what it's been. We know what makes for a good education, but if you don't fund it properly, it's pretty hard to hold it accountable. Couple other good things, no change in the collective bargaining law. There were a few things that the OEA and the component unions wanted that they did not get. That's positive as far as being able to work at it from a management standpoint. And I don't mind looking at it even from the education association standpoint, because if both sides know what's going on, it's much better for both sides. I guess I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. There were several bills that passed this session that I felt like were quite reactive to HR 1. And for example, they codified the right for students that qualify for McKinney-Vento to receive education. That's been a federal law since 1965. But our legislature, I think in particular, is quite worried about the erosion of rights. And so there were many things around immigration and homelessness and identification of students that they went ahead and passed legislation on. I think the thing that as board members, as public employees, that we all need to watch for moving forward is that there was a bailout, if you will, of the, what was it, Paul, tell me, the Bay Area Hospital in Coos Bay.
Right.
And the legislature is going to allow up to $44 million of funds that are in the unclaimed property and estate fund to be used for that hospital. That money typically goes into the state school fund. And so that piece, coupled with the fact that I believe, I agree with Director Zastro that the QEM model is going to come back in the long session, I think that there is going to be a continued tension about how do we fund public schools and how do we fund Medicaid, Oregon Health Plan with the impacts of HR1. And we're going to have to really be diligent to ensure that we maintain school funding. This is the first time that I feel like I've seen kind of a crack in the armor to we're going to shift some money to Health and Human Services and away from education.
Yeah, I think we need to start making contact with our legislators right now to say, hey, wait a minute, make sure that education is funded first. We don't know that Bay Area Hospital screwed things up royally, but it looks like maybe they did.
Yeah, probably.
And I don't think necessarily we need to 100% bail them out.
Yeah.
Especially not on the backs of our kids.
Yeah, so that would be that would be my caution going out of this short session.
Any questions for Paul or Dana? I think 300 million is just a rounding error, so I think we'll be okay in the long run.
Is that what I said?
I think one positive is the state of Oregon is still doing better economically, financially than was predicted. So
yeah, and we'll continue. Okay, do you want to do the personnel report, Dana, since Kip's not there? There's not a whole lot to report. I think some of it's been covered. Anything you want to add, Dana?
No, I would say right now the biggest lift obviously is that we are heavy into getting ready to start hiring for summer school.
Yep.
And we have just a little shy of 90 employees, but we hire 50 more folks for summer school. So it's a very heavy lift the next couple of months for the Human Resources Department. And continuing to work, it's not on here, but continuing to try and explore ways that we can also continue our culture camp that we do with students for 1 week this summer. So I'm sure more to come on that, but a lot of work in getting started for summer school.
Right. And also let the record show, Kip, or in the personnel report, it mentioned that I was at the staff training, but also Stephanie Ritchie was there as well, representing the board. So let the record reflect that 2 board members were there, not just one.
Don't find you boring at all.
Okay, moving on, consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I so move that we approve the consent agenda 5A through F as presented.
I second that.
Okay, I have a first and a motion and a second. Anybody want to pull anything or any questions about any item? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. Okay, moving on to action and discussion items. Item A, since we've not seen the audit, we're not going to move on that at this point in time. I don't want to approve an audit we haven't seen. Does anybody object to skipping that tonight?
Let's move it to April.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Okay, Dana, approval of the memo of understanding between the Education Association and the ESD regarding overnight stipends.
Yes, we have not had any contract language regarding employees that are chaperoning overnight trips where students are present. So for example, we have nurses that take students to outdoor school if nursing is needed. And we have many times where we have migrant ed staff that are taking students on college visits or that are taking students, as you know, to Washington, D.C. I did check around with our component districts to determine what their practices were so that we could be in alignment. And I do feel that it's challenging to be gone from home, to be away from home, to have to make all of those arrangements. And I do feel that some compensation for that should occur. I also think it's important that we not have departments figuring out how to do it in different ways, that we have a system. And so what I am proposing is that if students are present, that employees receive a stipend of $125 a night, that there would be a process through the fiscal department for their supervisor and that employee to submit that upon return from the trip, and that they would be compensated.
Questions, comments?
I think it's all really good what you stated. Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's very appropriate. Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the memo of understanding with Columbia Gorge ESD regarding overnight ESD Education Association about overnight stipends?
I move we approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Having moved and seconded, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
same sign. Okay. I heard enough ayes to say it passed. Item C, confirmation of superintendent contract extension. I'm not sure of the exact wording, but we as a board reviewed Dana's work for the last year and her evaluation and agreed that her contract should be extended. And I think this is just to confirm that her contract will be extended through the 28-29 school year. Is that correct? Do I have that right? Dana or Sue?
Yeah, it's a rolling 3
Rolling
years.
3, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I would move that we confirm the rolling 3-year.
Contract.
So we have a motion to confirm the extension. Do I have a second?
Yeah, Stephanie.
Oh, Stephanie, second. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same
Aye.
sign. Okay. I think I heard enough yeses, so it passes. Okay, information items. Dana, House Bill 4066.
A humorous bill.
Yeah, there was a technical fix bill that went through this short session. And one of the things that had happened during the long session is that it had been put into statute that school board members could receive a stipend, but they did not use the words "and ESDs." And so in this technical fix bill, they included the potential for ESD board members to receive a stipend. I'm including it here as an information item. We did reach out to our component districts, and at this point in time, none of our component districts are offering stipends or have voted themselves to receive a stipend. But I wanted to list it as an information item so that if it's something that you want to revisit in the future, that you could.
Okay. I know that this was put into place in Washington 5 years ago, and it was put in place so that it would reduce a barrier for younger, more diverse populations to become school board members. So it would pay for it was like $50 a meeting, and it could pay for childcare for people who saw that as having to have childcare as a barrier to being on the school board. So something worth at least considering down the road. And did you Dana, were you able to check with any ESDs to see if any were considering it?
No, we haven't checked with any ESDs yet. We can do that before April, Doug.
Oh, okay. Just so we know what other folks are doing on this. And since it's new, I'm going to guess that we aren't going to see a lot, but um, just for our information.
I don't know.
Although Boxer would like it.
More doggy treats.
Okay, Stan's provided us with a North Wasco County technology status report. Anything, Stan, that stands out we need to be aware of? It looked pretty straightforward. I didn't see anything, but
Yeah, the only thing that would be, and we already covered it in the other one, is taking on the um, libraries for Southern Wasco and Duffer County Public Libraries. We've taken that on as part of our support.
yeah. Oh, thank you
Fine
for
question.
pointing. Yeah, thank you for pointing out. I think it's a great move.
Yeah,
Clarifying
and
question.
yes,
We've got a question from Stephanie.
So there was a $6,500 expense. Is that for equipment up front? That then the fee they would pay that back? How will that work? Or is that,
I don't know if there was let me see if I can. There should have been a 6,500 expense up front. The expenses that we've had so far to date is mainly in the area of software licensure. They had a lot of licenses that were expired. We have renewed or actually brought them under our umbrella, and that cost, I think, has been to date about $200. And then
They
just
reimburse, yeah, they reimburse us for that, correct?
Yeah, they reimburse us for up to the $6,500.
yes, that is correct.
we recoup that money? Yeah, okay.
Yes. Yes. And we are also going to,
Thank you.
moving forward, we're going to try to take the technology report and do it more focused on the overall, including the ESD. So it would be a little bit more in tune to the board as well.
Appreciate your entrepreneurial, sure I can say that word, that outreach to get more business for us. Thank you, Stan.
Yeah, it was one of the my team members with a team member of the technology department had been approached, and it seemed like a great opportunity. I approached it with Dana, and she was very supportive, which I very much appreciate. And so we move forward.
Yeah, let's find a few more of those opportunities.
Yes.
Great. Thank you and congratulations. And a reminder, OAESD Spring Conference. I know Susan is checking to see who might want to be going to, so for room reservations. And I don't know, Susan, is there anything you need to add to that?
Well, currently there is a waiting room for rooms at Sun River. So if we haven't already made your reservations, we can get you on a waiting list if you'd like to go. But at this point, there's no more rooms at the inn.
Okay, all right. Anything else we need before we move on, before we adjourn into recess into executive session? Okay, we're going to recess into an executive session. Let me read the statement. The Columbia Gorge Board of Directors will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660 sub 2 sub D to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing board to carry on labor relations, and under ORS 192.660 sub 2 sub E to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing board to negotiate real estate transaction. Executive sessions are closed to the public. Representatives of the news media and designated guests will be allowed to attend executive sessions. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations, anything said during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, the board will return to open session and will welcome the audience back to the room, at which time we'll take any appropriate action and/or adjourn, and remind the board we will not discuss anything outside of the executive session. And with that, we will recess into executive session. We'll take a 5-minute break to stretch our legs.
And Stacy, we're going to stop recording, but we're going to go ahead and leave the link open.
You
Okay.
all-